Chapter 13. Promises. Dylan grit his teeth as he tried to sit up. Sky put her hand to the middle of his broad chest and pushed. "Stay down," she ordered. Dylan winced and fell back. He suffered more than he was letting on if he obeyed without objection. When Sky applied pressure to the jagged wound, Dylan closed his eyes and grunted his discomfort. It took some time, but the bleeding stopped. Wade ripped the blanket into strips, and they used it as bandages. Then, Sky insisted Dylan rest before they started home. After the break, Sky packed up the picnic supplies. "Wade, can you and Jesse carry this?" "Sure thing." She turned to Jesse. "You go with Wade. But don't get too far ahead of us, baby, we may need your help." Jesse's nose and forehead crinkled. "You know I'm not a baby." Sky hugged him and ruffled his hair before turning his face up to her. "What I know is that right now I can call you whatever I want. Baby." Then, as he rolled his eyes, she kissed the top of his head. As Jesse and Wade moved away from her, she called out, "Wade, watch him." "Me? Don't worry. I ain't gonna let him fall over any cliffs." Sky huffed and pasted her mouth shut. In her heightened emotional state, nothing helpful would come out of it. "Your brother," she grumbled to Dylan. "Yeah, well, he already did his good deed. Seems he's only capable of one a day." Sky laughed in agreement. It had been an enormous good deed, and she needed to be content with that. Sky put her sore arms around Dylan to help him get up. Both of them let out a groan. Tremendous relief and gratitude flooded Sky's face. She tipped her face up to Dylan and said, "Thank you, Dylan, thank you so much." With a solemn glance, he nodded, acknowledging her appreciation. "I'm here. I'll always be here," he said, reminding her of the promise he made her after that first call to her father. She laid her head against him for a moment as they looked out over the view one more time. The sun was setting. A bit of orange color lit up the sky, bathing the trees in that special glow that only happens in late autumn. "It's beautiful." But it was as if Dylan looked at an entirely different scene. "I hate this place, I've always hated it, and now this." Sky raised her head and stared at him. Dylan almost trembled with strong emotion. "Why?" "Dylan, you said it would be a fine place for a picnic. You seem to want to come here." He pointed out. "Not if you hate it." Sky tipped her head. "You come up here all the time." "I come up here 'cause I can see the town, not 'cause I like it." Sky glanced from one side of the overlook to the other. "Why do you despise it so much?" Dylan twisted in her arms, working up courage, but his nerve left him. He blew out a forceful sigh. "I just hate it, okay? Not everything needs a big discussion. I don't want to talk about it right now. Maybe someday, just not." He finished his sentence by rubbing the back of his neck as he shook his head. Sky squeezed Dylan's arm. "It's okay. You can tell me when you're ready. No hurry. Now let's get home." Dylan relaxed, and he pulled Sky a little closer to his side as they made their way down the path home. After arriving, Sky got Dylan settled on the bed. "Who should we get to help with this? Since we don't know what we're doing." She waved her hand toward Dylan's side. "Nah, no sense in that. Wade can handle it." Sky settled her hands on her hips. "Dylan. Not to knock Wade's skills, but you need someone to examine this. There ain't anybody. We were guessing then, and we'd be guessing now. No reason to drag someone else over here." "Dylan." Sky said, but gave up when his steely gaze told her he'd decided. Throwing her hands in the air, she offered her services, such as they were. But after seeing Dylan jerk with every bit of stone Wade fished out, Sky gave her weak knees a break and went to the living room to sit. A girl could only take so much. Jesse looked fascinated and horrified as he watched the two men until Sky called him over to her. "How are you?" she asked as she turned him round to check. "I got a couple scrapes." Safe, Jesse now felt rather manly about his dangerous adventure and pointed out his injuries with pride. Sky played along with him. "Okay, well, we certainly don't want infection setting in these bad boys, we better clean them up." Once everyone was patched and cleaned up, they came into the living room and sat down. Sky looked around the room, her eyes warm with appreciation they had all made it through another day. "Until everyone is healed up, and I mean mended to my satisfaction, I want promises we will stay in and around this cabin. No matter what brilliant ideas I come up with." They all snickered and laughed but were sincere in the assurances they gave her.